Good morning everyone, Pierre speaking. It's Tuesday morning, it's the 10th of April 2018. Time is about 8:30 when I made this video clip, and that will be GMT time. Starting off with the Euro Index daily chart. Now if we look at the direction indicator, main trend is still up according to this. 4 hours mix, but remember I showed you a triangle, and last week the triangle broke to the downside. We're busy pulling back, and we at a very key area here. 108.42 is the 4 hour 200 EMA. It's also the trend line of the bottom trend line of the triangle, the bull trend line here. So that is a possible M2 trade that can set up from 108.42, where price pulled back to an area that broke, and that can be an M2 short setup. So we will be keeping our eyes on that. To get into that short, you will have to drop to the smaller time frames and have a look and see if you can't get in on the smaller time frames. Euro US dollar, exactly the same. Remember, it's correlated with the Euro Index. Here too, we had a triangle that broke to the downside. Price pulled back. We had a very key level. We at that trend line again, the monthly pivot point, and there's a possible M2 short that can set up here as well. Here too, we will have to go to the smaller time frames and look for that short setup. Euro JPY daily chart. This one broke to the upside, guys, which is a little bit concerning because it's supposed to be correlated with the Euro US dollar and the Euro Index. But let's have a look at the triangle. The triangle broke to the upside. Today's candle is still in place, so we need to see where this candle is going to close today. If we're going to break to the upside, then tomorrow we need to wait for a pullback to at least where the trend line is. Remember, M2 trade is where important levels break. Then we need to wait for the correction to that level and then the continuation. So first of all, we have to wait for this candle today to close to see if the trend line is broken there. Then tomorrow we will look for a correction followed by a long setup if we do get to that areas again. I'll keep my eyes on 132.63, psychological level of 133 as well for possible resistance this week for short setups. Euro pound, first one that's really clear for Earth and Sky zone. The 4 hour tells us the short, daily tells us the short. Last week we closed 64 pips lower than the opening, so we can flip previous week from the high to the low. Our zone will be between 8,740 going up to 8,762. Now price currently in no man's land. If we make a new low without a correction, followed with the FIP, so the Earth and Sky trading zone can move. However, first port of call 8728, 8757 will be my areas of interest where I want to go short again if price do get up to that area. Pound US dollar 4 hour chart. If we have a look at the 4 hour chart, direction indicator 4 hour tells us to long, daily tells us to long. Last week we closed 55 pips higher than the opening. If we look for Earth and Sky long zone, we have to flip from the bottom to the top, and our Earth and Sky trading zone will be between 4067 coming down to 4017. Now the first port of call will be here at the 58.2 FIP area for possible support. So keep your eyes on the psychological level of 400, 4084, 4077 for support. If that breaks, keep your eyes on 4055 for possible long setups. Last line in the sand for me, if that breaks, 4055 will be the 200 EMA at 4010. Now I see we just triggered a short setup for me. Yesterday I had a short waiting there, and that came within 4 pips before the drop. Now price this morning went up here. I put a forward order. It's the mid pivot point between the monthly second and the weekly second pivot point and the weekly first pivot point. If we look to the left, that was also previous support resistance. My stop is on the other side of the weekly pivot point. Second pivot point, stop is about 55 for about a 90 pip gain on this one. So let's see how that will go. Remember, it's a counter trade. Pound JPY daily chart. Here too we had an inverse head and shoulder pattern. The trend line broke. We need to wait for a pullback to the trend line, then the continuation. But price after the breakout is just continuing on. We will prefer a pullback, the correction. Remember, the M2 trades important level broke to the upside. We need to wait for it to pull back, then the M2 long in the direction of the breakout. And that is the case with this one. We need to wait and see. Aussie US dollar daily chart. Why the daily chart? 4 hour tells us that or rather the 4 hour tells us to long, daily tells us to long. However, last week we closed 4 pips lower in the opening. We can't flip the 4 hour, we have to flip the daily. If we do that, we flip from the high to the low. Price is getting close to the 38.2 flip. Area of interest or the zone 77.80 going up to 7849. Before we get to the zone, between 7749 7769, lots of EMAs there, 200 EMAs, a 55 and a monthly. So that will be an area of interest for me for possible shorts on the Aussie US dollar. Aussie JPY daily chart, 4 hours mixed. Daily tells us that we need to look for shorts. However, last week we closed 44 pips higher than the opening, so we can't flip the 4 hour. We have to flip the daily. We'll have to flip from the high to the low to get a zone starting at 82.52 going up to 83.53. Now price currently touching the 200 EMA there. I'll keep my eyes on 82.75, 83.19 for possible resistance. Then the short setting up on that one. US dollar JPY daily chart. This one is a little bit mixed for me, guys. It's looking like we're going sideways. We can't really flip it because on the daily we're already at last month's high area again. The main trend is short, so that means we have to flip the daily. We can't flip the daily, we are already at the previous month's high. Areas of interest 107.11, it's a 55 and if we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance there as well. We've got a pivot point at 107.47 psychological level, so I'll keep my eyes between 107.11, 107.47 and 108 for possible resistance, followed by a short setup on that one. US dollar CAD daily chart. This one had a head and shoulder pattern. That was the neckline. The neckline broke, and look, I missed this. Look how, or not, can't really say we missed it because in my write-up I said be careful of 2749 is a 200 EMA. But look at this M2 where price broke. You see that wick? We came back, we touched the trend line and then the drop. So that is the type of thing we look for M2 trade, where important level breaks, pull back to it, touch it, then the continuation. Unfortunately for me, this 200 EMA was in the way. I said in yesterday's write-up I will prefer price to break underneath that 200 EMA, which it did. So now I will wait for a pullback at least to 2748, 2767, what is this level here, 2784 for possible resistance there again, and then the continuation to the short side. US dollar index daily chart. This one is supposed to be correlated with the US dollar CAD, but this one we broke to the upside. We had a triangle broke to the upside, we dropped back, and now in the earth, not the earth and sky trading zone, a couple of tongue twisters here this morning. We broke the triangle to the upside, okay, but now we drop back into the triangle and we've got a hell of a lot of EMAs here. So there's a possible M2 long where price broke a level, pull back, then the continuation. The problem that I've got with this one is didn't find support at these EMAs. It broke the EMAs. So if we want to take a long on this, price needs to break this 55 first and close above it at 90.11. Otherwise, be careful. We might as well just have a M2 short where price can pull to this area. If it doesn't close above this 55 at 90.11, there might be the situation with price do this for possible M2 short. So take note of that. Not very clear on that one because we're whipsawing through all those EMAs. That's it, guys. See you in the webinar a little bit later today. If you can't make it, remember there's always a recording a little bit later as well. Have an awesome one. Cheers.